Hello, my name is Pittsburgh Pat, and I'm here with Marco Fossati. Marco, I met you on Facebook just a little while ago, and I saw that you have a Dungeons and Dragons channel, and I wanted to talk to you about that today. How are you today? Buonasera.
Hi, Pat. Hi, Pat. Thank you for your invitation. Okay. I'm
You're
here,
welcome.
ready to all of your questions.
Oh, very good. So you have a wonderful Facebook presence under the name of, it's about Dungeons and Dragons. What's the name of your
Okay, the label
presence?
is a Sign of the Dragon.
Sign of the Dragon.
Sign of the Dragon was founded in September 2019. Okay, I'm one of the two founders. The other founder is Marco Bertini, who is a friend of mine that lives not so near to me in Italy. Okay, I live in North Italy, north 20 kilometers north of Milan, the biggest city in north of Italy. Okay, while he lived in Tuscany, in the center of Italy. Okay, near Florence in Viareggio, on the Tyrrhenian Sea. Actually, even he's a friend of mine. We've met each other only 2 times for not more than 2-3 hours. Okay, we met first time we met in 2022 after 3 years we've worked together. Okay, I met Marco Bertini in February 2019. Okay, on the most important Italian Facebook page about Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, Marco had already published a volume on the dmsguild.com. Okay, it's a quite successful adventure. Its name is The Second Black Dawn. Okay, in Italian, La Seconda Alba Nera. At that time, he had written it only in Italian. And he was looking for someone who did a translation. Okay, I don't know why, but I apply myself for that work. Okay, I really don't know why. Oh, more specifically, at that time I wanted to enter in the third-party RPG business. Okay, but I haven't enough information. I didn't know where to go, what to do. So I said to Marco Bertini, okay, I will translate for you for free. Okay, in English, there are more or less 50 pages. Okay, 50 pages on a Word document. I will translate it for free. Okay,
that's a heck of an endeavor, I have to say. I've just been editing novels in my native language, and people charge a lot of money for that, and it's time consuming. I can't even imagine taking on a translation project like that.
I did it for free because I wanted to know more about that word. Okay, and so when Marco sent me a copy of his work, it was awesome. Okay. The adventure is a good adventure, okay, but it was awesome on layout, on graphics, on images. It seems to me it looked like an official product. Okay, so I had already a lot of pages written. Okay. In Word about Dungeons and Dragons and other RPGs. But what stopped me to publish them was because I haven't skill in layout, in graphics, in editing and publishing. So I asked Marco, Marco, what do you think? I write directly in English because American or English language market is much more bigger than Italian market in RPGs. They are incomparable. Italian market is smaller than American or English language market.
Sure.
Very, very small. So I write directly in English, and you will take care of all other stuff. What do you think? We share expenses, we share revenues. What do you think? We'll create a label, Sign of the Dragon. Okay, what do you think? He accepted. We started on 7th September 2019 with our first product, Vault of Magic. It was a simple collection of more or less 80 magic items and 20, 30 spells, okay? And it did very good.
Good.
In a few days, we hit more than 500 units sold.
Wow. That's on DM Guild. That's great.
Yeah, for DM's Guild, just a number. Okay.
Yeah.
On DM's Guild, they are actually more or less 35,000 of volumes. Only 4% of them, so more or less 1,004,500, have only 4% of them have at least 1,000 units sold.
Right.
Okay. We have 18 volumes. 14 of them have at least 1,000 units sold.
Fantastic. That's amazing.
So we found a framework and a framework that currently is successful on the DM's Guild. Okay, and so we continue. In my opinion, our business model must change, somewhat change. We are expecting the new edition of DnD.
Yes, DnD 1.
Probably one DnD will occur on May or June 2024. So in the next 4 or 5 months, we will change something. We'll surely update our 18 volumes to the new rules. Okay. Probably we'll focus also on some small adventures that we haven't explored that field for the moment. Okay.
Gotcha.
So we'll probably go in that direction. But of course, we had to change something. After 4 years, every business model after 4 or 5 years must be changed.
Yes.
In order must be renewed. In order to keep continuing. Okay. In order to keep continuing be successful, we must change something.
Well, now you have so much more experience. You can look at your business model with that experience specific to this particular way of publishing. And I wanted to say, like the DM's Guild, I've been very intrigued. I've writing background and written a novel and short stories, and I've been considering publishing something on DM's Guild. It's excellent. I think that the viewers of this particular podcast would love to know more about that process, because I think a lot of them are players who might want to do this someday. Is it something you would encourage for everyone, or is it a big obstacle, do you think?
Okay. I will give you a couple of advices, counsels for your public.
Sure.
First thing, you're not good at everything. There's something you are good at, but there's also something you are not good at. So find someone to share the burden. Find someone to share the activities. Find someone who will take care of the things you are not able, or the things you don't like, and focus only on the things you are good at. Only on the things you like. When we started with Marco, we never met. We met on Facebook. We chat only by messages using Messenger or WhatsApp. WhatsApp in Italy, it's much more
WhatsApp is wonderful for international
Okay.
communications as well.
I know in America, in USA, FaceTime or Snapchat are more used. In Italy, WhatsApp is the most used application. We only chat through messages. We never make a phone call. Okay. And the first two products published in 2019 were made and were successful, even if we haven't met each other, even if we hadn't talked by phone. Okay.
That's amazing.
Just because everyone had clearly what to do, and everyone was focused in doing that. We started to talk after the second volume, okay? And now we usually listen a couple of times a week, okay? But again, we met for the first time, we have met in 2022 at the most important RPG fair in Italy, which is held in Modena, a town between more or less at the same distance between my home place and his home place, okay? And we met each just for a couple of hours, because the other important things is that the DM skill can be a starter set for future works, for more important works. For example, after the first volumes, some Italian and international publishers contacted us for works. Personally, I have at this moment around 30 publications, 30 volumes published by Italian and other publishers. And also Marco, my partner, had some contracts with other publishers, and we were at that fair working for two different publishers. So we had only just a couple of hours to meet each other, to shake hands, to give a hug, to give a high five, and then went back to work. So we did the same this year in 2023, always at the same fair. And so we never met each other, but the model is successful. So it isn't important. It is important to clearly have in mind what to do.
Yes.
And what must be done and who must do it.
I think that's one of the reasons I like written communication is, but being a writer, but that way there's a clear line of the conversation.
Yes.
So it's not just what I recall and what was actually said, because I can distort that. But when it's actually written down, it's pretty clear. And then in getting those kinds of ideas, I think the other thing about the process of writing is that it makes the amorphous ideas in my head, the cloudy ideas, more solid. And so in order to communicate with another human being in writing, I must be precise. And
I agree with you. I agree with you, Pat. And I add one more thing. In my real life, I've been a consultant for the most important insurance companies and banks in Italy. Okay. Italian banks and Italian insurance companies are stern, strict, severe. Okay. Sure. This kind of approach that I must naturally have when dealing with the subjects is the same I use in my RPG works. I think it's one of the most important edges in confront of other designers.
You have a very serious attitude towards it, as opposed, the material may be used in a frivolous or a game-like fashion, a very pleasant fashion, but you actually have a very business-like approach to your creation
this
process.
is very important. Even some of the CEOs which I work, CEOs of RPG Italian publishers, okay, said, okay, you under this aspect, you are very different from the others. Okay. I don't mean
in a good way.
I'm not meaning the others are not serious. Okay.
Right.
All others are serious. Others probably have just another kind of approach to the work.
Well, that's what I'm interested in. I like to see how people approach it. So do you commit a certain number of hours a day to this, or per week? Is it structured in your schedule, or are you more of a person that's like, okay, I'm inspired to write about this now, so I will spend the next 7 hours writing this, you know?
Okay. No, I cannot commit a lot of hours per day.
Right.
Okay. I can't. My other work is very full. It's very gives me a very busy life.
Understood.
Usually, I create in 2 moments: on weekends, usually on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. Okay, or when traveling. On train. By train, sorry. When I travel by train, currently I work 3 days a week in office, and the other days at home. Okay. When I go to office, I take the train. It usually takes 45 or 50 minutes to reach my office. During this period, I wrote with this. I wrote very fast. I wrote directly in English. Okay. And usually in one way, and the return, I wrote 3-4 pages of Word.
That's wonderful. I think that's amazing, because I think, see, in America, there aren't a lot of people who commute by train. In the larger cities, maybe New York City, that sort of thing, but most people drive. And one of the disadvantages to that is that what happens is, as a result of that, is that people consume media. So they listen to, like this, they'll listen to a podcast, or that's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. But if one is a creator, such as you are, you can utilize that time in a constructive way. And I think it's important for people to realize that if it's important to you, you will make the time. You will find the time, right?
I'll give you an example. In 2024, we start a new project under a new label. I cannot say anymore for the moment.
Sure, okay. Absolutely. It's, trade secrets.
Undisclosed. Okay. But our business model will be focused on very, very short modules. They will be put not on the Unskilled, but on drive-through. Okay. Because they will be agnostic system. Okay. So they can be used with every fantasy game system.
Gotcha.
Dungeons and Dragons to Warhammer to an OSR, everything.
Excellent.
Okay. I have already written 35 of this volume in less than 2 months, only by traveling on train.
Wow, that's fantastic. You are prolific. But you're focused too. Like, you know what you want to do, and now you have a kind of a system, and that's yours, and you've invented, and now you can do that. That's you've streamlined the process for yourself.
Yes. The other two guys that are in this project started to say to me, stop it. Marco, stop it.
You're making us look bad. Sure, sure.
In fact, I have already written as much modules for the first 2 years of our editorial program.
Fantastic. Oh, that's wonderful. This is awesome. You've given me some inspiration now. I love to write and I need to write some more. This is the reason that I do this podcast, to meet people like this and to share that kind of inspiration.
If I can add one more thing.
By all means.
Another important thing is, for me, is to have a deadline.
Yes.
Okay. So if I know that I must deliver within 7 days, I will deliver within 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
If I know if I must deliver within 1 month, I will deliver in 1 month. That's the reason why one of the reasons why I've started the Patreon. Because on the Patreon, I'm obliged to my patrons. I've written that I will give them at least one exclusive RPG content a week, at least one a week.
Wow.
And one full adventure a month.
That's impressive.
So now I have a deadline. So now I must write.
So all of those links for the Patreon, for your existing work, and how to keep posted for the future work will be in the description box of this video. And that's inspirational. So tell me, before, we talk about, how did you get into Dungeons and Dragons? Why Dungeons and Dragons? And by the way, is my audience going to ask, is it, what's the word? Is it called Draghi Soteriani or no? How's it called? No.
The name is always Dungeons and Dragons on DnD.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. It was never translated. I don't recall if in the 80s was ever translated.
Way back then,
but
yeah.
I always call it Dungeons and Dragons even when I was a kid. Okay. You'll be surprised. The first RPG I played wasn't Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
I always liked to read. Okay. I always liked reading. When I was a kid, more or less 10, 11 years old. Okay. It was 1988, 1989. Okay. On every Sunday afternoon, my parents wanted to go to Milan. In Italy, is very diffused to take a walk in the center of the city. They call it passeggiata.
Passeggiata.
Yes, just a walk.
Nice
look
clothes,
at the shops, look at the people. Okay, I hate it. It's boring.
My wife and I did this yesterday.
I don't like it. It's boring. And for me, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay. And when I was a kid, I always told to my parents, no, I stay at home. I prefer to stay at home to play video games. And we quarreled. We had a struggle. We struggled about it. They said I was too young to stay at home alone. Okay. So they corrupted me because I like reading. They told me, oh, I will buy you a book in the most important bookstore of the center of Milan. So I went with them, and I discovered the game books of Lone Wolf by Joe Dever. Fantastic. Okay. And every week, they bought me a game book every week.
And this was called Lone Wolf, you said?
Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf. Never heard about it?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Game. Joe Dever, who wrote it in, was inspired by Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, he started to play Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s, and at the beginning of the 80s, he started to write the game books of Lone Wolf. I think it's the best. The Lone Wolf series is the most famous series of game books. Okay.
Okay.
After some weeks, I bought all the volumes from the series. So the following week, I went to the bookstore, and I couldn't buy another Lone Wolf books because there wasn't. And I took another one. But when the title was something like The Forest with No Return. Okay, it was the title not of the series, but of that specific book. Okay, but when I came back at home and I opened the book, I realized it wasn't a game book. I couldn't play alone. It wasn't a module of an adventure, of an RPG. And the name of the RPG is a German RPG. The German title is Das Schwarze Auge. It was translated in English only in 2003 with the name Dark Eye. The Dark Eye. But fundamentally, it's a clone of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay? It's a clone of Dungeons and Dragons with very less. It's a very less low magic system. Okay, very low magic system. But it's a clone of Dungeons and Dragons. There's a talk between the narrator, which is the dungeon master in that game is called the narrator. Okay, there's a continuative talk between the narrator and the player. When the player want to do something that the outcome is uncertain, the narrator asks for a check. Okay, never. It's the same roots of Dungeons and Dragons. Sure. In Germany, this game was most popular than Dungeons and Dragons. The Dark Eye is not the literal translation. Literally, it would be a look in the darkness. Okay, Das Schwarze Auge, or Uno Sguardo nel buio. So I realized I couldn't play alone. So I asked my father to buy, and also I realized there were needed rules not included in that book.
Right. This is just a module.
So I asked my father to buy me the rule book of that game. And at the beginning, so he did me on the next Christmas. At the beginning, I played with my little sister. I forced her to be the player, and I'm the narrator. Okay. After a couple of years, I went to high school. Okay. And then I met a couple of schoolmates that were in a DnD group where the older brother of one of them was the dungeon master. So I started each week. They lived in another town near Milan. I took the train and I go to them and play Dungeons and Dragons. After a couple of years, I created a gaming group here in my hometown. I as the DM, but we played classic DnD, so BECMI. Okay, in the first with my schoolmates. Then with my group created in my own town, we started playing the second edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
Gotcha.
Okay, and we play it. We have been playing it more or less until 2010, I think.
That's great.
Yes,
Continuously for almost.
I played with them. Okay, I played with also other people in Milan and around. Then I have a moment of stop because first thing, I worked for some years in another city in Rome, and there I haven't met anyone who played Dungeons and Dragons or other RPGs. Okay, because also in the 90s and the first year of the century, I tried a lot of other RPGs. Then in 2010, I remained alone with my son of 2 years old. So I was focused for 4 or 5 years in growing my son. Then in 2014, 2015, I casually found that there was a new edition of D&D, the 5th edition of D&D.
Yes.
I downloaded the SRD, okay, the free SRD.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like it. I like it much more than 3rd edition.
It's simpler.
Simpler, okay.
It's more it's friendlier to new players, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I like 5th edition a lot.
I called my old friends, my old gaming group, and we started play again. We bought the first adventure, Horde of the Dragon Queen.
I just ran it. Yeah.
Okay. And we played it. We bought the original manuals, the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master Guide, and the Monster Manual, and the Order of the Dragon Queen, and we started playing. Then I started to. I joined the most important Italian Facebook group. Okay, and I started asking things, replying to posts, making posts, etc. And more or less a couple of years after, I began to hold small groups of Adventurers League. Okay, I met her. I like the organized play or the concept of sharing campaign idea. I like a lot because every week you can play with different players.
Yes.
You can play with different DMs.
Yes.
And it's very, very funny.
It's fresh.
Fresh and a lot of fun.
And
To play alone is good.
Yeah.
To play with some people is better.
Yes.
To play with a lot of people is even much better.
Yes. Yes. And especially if you were the Dungeon Master. So I've been in Adventure League now for going on a year. I'm similar to you. I played in high school, a little bit in college, and then there was a hiatus. And then when D&D 5e came out, friends of ours got together and we did that. And then there was a break there as well because one had a child. And so he had to like commit to that, and that's fine. But now with Adventure League, we play every other week and 3 times a month. And I'm usually the Dungeon Master. What's great about that is when you create a scenario, which I do, I will run the modules, but I'll run them in my way. I have extra elements in there, that I'll throw in there because that way, if somebody's has already played that module, I have something new and unexpected for them. But what's good about that is you get to try out your material on a different audience all the time and see what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of times what I think is funny isn't funny, or I have to revise it and make it better. Or if I think adventure is tough and then they find a way around it, Now I have to do something else. And it keeps my mind working. I think that's what I like about the new players, So,
however, in Italy, Adventurers League isn't so diffused like in America, okay, like in USA.
Mm.
It's very less important.
Mm.
I think that's two reasons. First reason, Adventurers League model is based on the concept of stores. You
Yes.
go to a store,
Yes.
you will find a DM, which very often is also paid by the same store.
Oh,
you
we're not
try
paid.
the game, okay? Okay.
We're not paid.
I've been talking with other American, some of the Chicago areas or the Indianapolis area. They are paid, but I think it's
good for them.
It's local agreement with the stores, okay? But you go in a store, there is a DM who runs an adventure for you, okay? And then if you like it, you buy the book, you buy the dice, you buy the minis, you buy it. Okay. In Italy, there's no capillary diffusion of stores dedicated to RPGs. Stores are few and stores are small. So there is sometimes there isn't even enough space to hold more than 1 or 2 tables. Okay. Second one, if you read Adventurers League modules, they are straight linear. So this is the goal, this is the mission. Let's go and do the mission. Okay. That's fine. But that's the American way of thinking. Italians like a lot to speak, to tell their stories, and to tell the stories to others. The first time we had Adventurers League, I was the organizer, we had a problem with the 4 or 5 DMs. After 2 hours, they haven't finished the first chapter yet. Because I don't remember exactly which adventure it was, but just for example, if an Adventurers League adventurer says we must enter in a dragon's lair and kill the dragon, you as American will pack your weapons, your gear, and we go to the dragon's lairs and kill that dragon. We Italian, we start thinking, but why the dragon has become evil? But why we can kill? Okay, that's the huge difference. So, what I worked with the DMs, with people who wanted to DM, is to focus them on the goal and on the mission of that adventure.
So yeah, you have to have I've found that a time limit is a ticking clock is useful. So either one of the party members is poisoned and has to find like a cure for that, or that's an old trope, or like something, something like that. The town will be burned, the army is advancing. Something terrible is going to happen if you don't get it done now, Otherwise, yeah, they can sit around the tavern and talk about their past adventures all the time. Although I have to tell you, this Thursday, I'm running an adventure, which is that they meet in a tavern. And there's a contest to tell about their best adventure, and whoever tells the best story wins. And then we'll reenact the adventure out on the playing table. But I think I would love to run for a party of Italians, because I think what I enjoy about Dungeons and Dragons is the storytelling, is the original contributive storytelling, and how it's different every time depending on who's at the table.
Yes. For example, the first trick I told them was take off the prologue. The party are ready. All party members already know each other. They have just met. They have just received their
Marching orders.
Their marching orders, and they
Mm-hmm.
are in front of the first obstacle, the first enemy.
That's a good point.
Start
in combat. If you start in combat, that makes a big difference. Yeah, because that way you also find out what each other's abilities are. You can talk about it later. You can talk about your backstory later, but let's find out what this druid can do. Let's find out what this wizard can do. Let's look at the fighter, see what his armor class is. Like, that's a really good suggestion. I like that.
Actually, I'm not running Adventurers League Adventure modules anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm still part of organized play. I went every Friday, which is the most important center of RPG associationism in Italy. Okay, which is a municipal building in Milan, and in the better if people there don't think that number of tables each Friday is a successful metric. Okay. They don't like, and I don't like either. Okay, if I want to play to something I really want to play, I don't care if we are 5 person, as long as we still play what I want to play. Okay, so number of people present there is not a metric of success for us. But if we consider it a metric of success, in the most successful evenings, there were more than 100 people, which playing together, 15, 20 tables, okay, at best, which for Italian levels is high top.
That's very high. Yeah.
Usually most successful are around 7, 8 tables. Most associations, most clubs usually make 3, 4, 5 tables, okay, together. Actually, in the last month, on Friday nights, we had 3 different gaming proposals. One based on Dungeons and Dragons, one based on Adventurers League, another one a shared campaign created by scratch from every member on Dungeons and Dragons. They created a world starting from zero, and another group played an RPG based on superheroes, which is its name is Spectaculars. Awesome product, brilliant, very brilliant. And the evening were structured in manner that every time everyone could choose which of the 3 games wanted to play.
So everybody could play at a different table if they wanted.
Yeah. For example, I didn't play in the Adventurers League. They ran the Adventurers League storyline based on Baldurs Gate, Descent into Avernus. I had already done as a Dungeon Master, so I didn't.
You know all the secrets.
I wasn't interested in it.
Sure.
I had no pleasure also in DMing it another time.
Right.
So I played a couple of evenings. I played at Supernatural. Another couple of evenings I played in the other DnD campaign, and I personally appreciated a lot this formula. Okay, And if you add up all the tables, you ended more or less around 10 or 12 tables.
Gotcha. So what
Again,
what character class did you play?
uh,
Let's say this. What's your favorite? If you pick a character class, which
my
one
favorite character class is cleric.
is what?
Cleric.
Cleric. Yeah, clerics are amazing. Yeah.
Cleric. I'm a pious man, so cleric is mine.
I'm a bard. I'm a bard. I like the jack of all trades aspect to the bard. So that's
but in the DnD campaign, I made a simple fighter, okay, because I wanted to play something straight, solid, and simple.
It's fun playing fighters. You know what to do. Your job is to kill, and that's it. And you just do it efficiently. Yeah, absolutely. Although sometimes I'll throw paladin in there because I like to have that, like you said, that pious element into it. And there's a little bit of a goal, a mission. I have a purpose. I'm not just slaughtering beasts for no reason. I have a backstory. I have a reason for it. And you can do that with a fighter as well, but I find that there's more structure for me mentally when I play as a paladin. So
if I must choose my favorite class, that would be definitely the cleric.
Cleric. Yeah, clerics do a lot of fun stuff, no doubt.
Bard in 5th edition is one of my favorite too. Okay.
What is it?
Bard.
Bard. Yeah.
Bard is one of my favorite.
Bard's fun. Yeah, they're fun to play act.
Okay. I think Bard has a real big problem of consistency. If you assume that the Bard use the primeval song, the primeval is like the hero songs of the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Okay, to use its magic, how can it possible that
yeah,
Elvis
the wizards
don't know it?
Sure, the wizard spends years poring over ancient texts in order to learn the knowledge, the arcane knowledge, and the bard just and then magic.
I think
it's magic fluty.
If I just for example, the DnD world created in that campaign, we decided not to have bards because they weren't consistent to the world we were creating.
That's what's wonderful about Dungeons and Dragons. You can modify it. You can modify that model. You can have high magic. You can have low magic. You can have rare magic. You can have magic everywhere. It could be like Eberron, where it's just everybody has feather fall because you're on these high towers and you're walking across these steel beams, basically these catwalks. And so, of course, everybody has magic. Otherwise, you'd fall to your death. That's
another dangerous class. It's warlock.
Yeah.
Why dangerous? Okay. Always not only by the mechanical side. Okay. Warlock, it's wonderful. I as a sign of the dragon, I also created a specific volume of warlocks and patrons. Okay. So I like the warlock as a class, as a mechanical class, but it is dangerous. Warlock is a dangerous tool for every DM. Why? My opinion, Pat. Always in my opinion.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay. The warlock is too tentative for the DM. Why? The DM will always use the patron of the warlock as an engine of the story.
I see.
And by doing so, the warlock character will become the protagonist of the story of the table. And the other characters will be only its companions.
Yep.
This is the reason why the warlock is dangerous.
It's unbalanced, sure. It makes for an unbalanced story. Yeah. Or
The
can.
risk
It
to
can.
unbalance the story, good, bad. The risk to unbalance the story is very high. Well, I give you an example.
Well, if you're writing a novel, that's fantastic. But if you're playing with 5 other people, everybody wants to be part of the story, and you want to make that as equal as possible. If you can, it's never going to be 100% equal, but you want everybody at the table to have a turn and to be their hero of their part of the story, you know?
I'll give you an example. On August, I went to another city in the center of Italy, Fabriano. It's a small town, but they held a con much visited by many people from every part of Italy. Okay, I have made some friends there, so each year I go there. I take 4 or 5 days and go there. The con lasts 4 days. Okay, from Thursday to Sunday. From the last Thursday to the last Sunday of August. I had a game as a player, okay, in a game system created by an Italian creator, RPG designer. There in I never met him personally, but I have met him on social. I had some brief chats with him, and the first time I was there and I played at this table. Okay, the system is very different from Dungeons and Dragons, much more like a PBTA. Okay, powered by the apocalypse. And was a good system, and we had an adventure. And that adventure, the character I was playing was a princess that left his ancestral home to become a sort of paladin. And he was coming back home to the castle, to the manor of his family, of her family, with some of her friends. And all the adventures was centered about my heritage, my heirloom. So the adventure, for example, there were some areas of the castle that only I could access there.
Mm-hmm.
There was some dialogue that, for example, the queen of the castle, my mother, only spoke to me. Okay, all the servants was keen to speak with me, not with the others. So what I tell to that designer, I said, okay, the adventure, the story is perfect. The story was perfect. The story was perfect. If it was a book or a movie.
Yep.
To play it was unbalanced. Because I was the hero of the story. My character was the hero of the story. The other was only compromise, was only my servants. Okay.
I think story form is important. I think writers get stuck sometimes in a certain story form. They understand it and it makes sense to them because they have seen so many movies, read so many books. But what we're looking for is really a quest. It's the quest. It's the group that it's Star Wars. It's the Wizard of Oz. It's the Lord of the Rings. It's a group effort. And even in the Lord of the Rings, it's not really Frodo's story. It's the story of the ring and how it progresses. It's Sam's story. It's, Pippin and Merry have a part in the story. Aragorn, of course, becomes king. Is it Aragorn's story? No, it's everyone's story. And it's hard to write that way.
So a little advice I can give to any DM, it's try not to be a storyteller. Try not to be a writer. try to be what the DM is really like. The DM is a player.
A player and an arbiter of the rules. So that's all. Like let the players tell the story, and then you can facilitate that through interesting interpretations of the rules.
Okay. And Dungeons and Dragons, one of the which is the less read book of each edition of Dungeons and Dragons?
The Dungeon Master's Guide. Yeah, nobody reads that. Yeah.
And the Dungeon Master Guide of 5th edition clearly says what is the role of the Dungeon Master. The Player's Handbook says that one of the players has another role. Page 5 of the player. So the Dungeon Master is a player.
The player.
It is told, it is written in the Player's Handbook.
That's a really good point.
The Dungeon Master's Guide on page. So I'm looking for the Dungeon Master Guide. So.
I have mine over here as well.
The Dungeon Master Guide, Master Guide says on page 4, which is the role of the Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master is a creator of worlds. The first part, so the Dungeon Master must set up the context, the world, exactly like focusing in an adventure. On page 5 of the Player's Handbook, it is written, the Dungeon Master describes the context, what the character sees, what the character smells, what the character hears, what the ambient looks like. It's the same thing from the big to the small scale. So this is the role of the Dungeon Master. But in my opinion, it is a player exactly like all the other players.
I like that idea.
This is and I don't know in Italy, but I don't know in the USA, sorry. But in Italy, this concept is not quite understood. Many people tell it, but truly they don't believe it. For me, DMing or GMing is not a service. When I was young, I believed it was a service. It was the role of the Dungeon Master or the Game Master to be a storyteller, to be a bard, to be an entertainer. Now I don't want to entertain anything. I just want to play with others. and this concept, I really don't know if in USA this concept is diffused or. But if I say like so, can I make some names on your? Yeah. Okay, so for me, the most important example of the DM as a service, as an entertainer, is Matt Colville.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
In that role, he is perfect. Okay, he is perfect for that role. Simply, it's not the role of mine. I don't want to be in that role.
No, he's an entertainer. Yeah.
I give you another example. On June 2023, we had a con. Usually in Milan, we had the free RPG day. Okay, Okay. We didn't hold the free RPG day this year. But we had another kind of con that was very different. Which was in the center was the player. So we started with a survey asking to everyone, a survey on social media, asking everyone in Italy which games would like to play.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They choose, there was some, Dungeons and Dragons was the first or the second. No, the first was 7th Sea.
Oh,
the
yes, I've
second
heard
Legend
great
of the
things
Five
about that.
Rings, the second Legend of the Five Rings, and the third Dungeons and Dragons, and then a lot of others.
Yeah.
This was the first survey. Then we had a call, not for masters, like usually when you make a con, you make a call for masters. That
Sure.
No, we call them responsible of table. For example, I was a responsible of table. I don't like 7th Sea, and I don't know very well Legend of Five Rings. So I wasn't able to be responsible of a table for that two games. So I went to Dungeons and Dragons. What was the role of the responsible? The responsible has in charge to prepare everything to play a game, a session of that game. So, for example, I created 4 character sheets, okay? One fighter, one mage, one wizard, one cleric, and one rogue, okay? 3rd level. I brought a copy of Dungeon Master Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Handbook, Monster Manual. I brought dice, pencils, rubbers. I brought 10 possible maps of dungeons. And then I asked the player, the other player, who wants to be the dungeon master?
Oh, nice.
Everyone can be. Let's try. I'm here. I will guide you in the first 20, 30 minutes to create a dungeon, a simple dungeon based on one of the maps you like more. Okay. I will help you to create some traps, some monsters. Okay. Yeah. Using the tables in the Dungeon Master Guide. Okay. And then you run the game and then be one of the players. This was too hard for many people. And at my table, everyone refused. So I was forced to be the Dungeon Master. Otherwise, we couldn't play. But in other tables, it is success. My son, 14 years old, brought an RPG called Nova, and he didn't GM. He was one of the players and helped the Dungeon Master, who was in charge, and helped telling him some hints about the rules, helping in some scenes. But in another table, the responsible, which brought the necessary to run a session of vampires. Okay. It was a little provocatory, but we did it on purpose. Left all the things that asked to the other players. Do you know vampires? One said, I know vampires. I've been playing it for a lot of years. I think I am a good GM. Good. Then GM This is everything you need to run a GM vampire session, and then stand up and go away.
They walk away.
And went away and walked away.
That's fantastic.
So
I have to tell you, that's wonderful. I taught a summer camp this past year, 2023, for the first time, and taught kids that were 9, 10, and 11 years old how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I gave them an example the first day. We had 5 days. The first day, I ran them through a scenario. I didn't even give them character sheets. I just said, you're in a supermarket. The manager says, they're back. What's back? You hear a buzzing noise. There was a giant insect and they had to do something about the giant insect, and they could have done it any way they wanted to. Of course, they were boys, they killed it. But they could have opened a window and let it out, but they killed, that's what they did. Anyway, yes. The second day I did another scenario, and then the third, fourth, and fifth days, they ran their own. I had them make a dungeon on the second day. I had them draw a dungeon on the second day. And on the third, fourth, and fifth days, they all ran each other's dungeons. They all ran their own dungeon for each other. And I just stood and watched because I wanted them to learn how to play the game once they left the camp. Yeah, once I wasn't there. So they could play with their brothers, sisters, friends. That's what I thought my job was at that camp. And I did it again in the fall at 2 different after school programs, and got paid both times. And which is wonderful. And I think that older players, adults, could use that we could do that like you just did at that con. That's a wonderful idea. And I think it's important because I think it's, for myself, I learn by doing, right?
Yeah.
So when you come up against an obstacle, you have a question. Okay, we have a question. How do we do this? Okay, great.
Okay, let's read the books. Let's read the books.
Let's find out together.
And let's find out. Because one of the most common, back in the 90s, when I was young, usually only the Dungeon Master had the books, had the rule books. Of course, nobody reads nothing. Okay.
Right. You don't read the whole book.
Okay.
Before you play, right?
So, all of us played not Dungeons and Dragons or the other RPGs, but the version that DM had in mind.
Exactly.
Recently, this is what I'm doing is my way to face my middle-age crisis. Okay, I'm going back to play basic expert companion immortal and more master immortal edition of D&D. So I read probably for the first time the full rules encyclopedia of the 1990s. There were a lot of rules that my DM back in high school, as I told, never used. But those rules were the better part of the game, in my opinion. So I tried in the last con held we have in Milan on December. I ran a dungeon adventure exactly by the book, by the rules encyclopedia. One of the funnest role-playing game session I ever had in my life. So usually in the last years, one of the things I usually want is to play a game and try to play by the rules. Not why? Because playing by the rules means playing the game as the game designer had in mind.
Well, not only the game designer, but the play testers too, because
Yes.
when games are made, these guys don't just write stuff and throw it out there. A lot of times these things are, they test on their families, they test on their friends, they test with actual like anonymous groups of volunteers who don't know anything about the game. And they sit down and then they improve them and they realize why they needed to add certain rules and take other rules out. So they made all of the mistakes that we as beginners coming to this would make on our own. And we don't have to make those mistakes because they've already amended those rules in order to prevent us from having to make those mistakes. So why not avail ourselves of that wisdom, right?
And especially the most important pages and the first ones in which there is described which on which is based the game. Okay, this game is based upon this and that. And so that information give you the right set of mind to play that game. And usually the introduction is one of the part of the rule book that is less read.
Maybe instead of introduction, if I ever write one of those books, I'll just say the essential
They are
part.
They are very important. Are very important.
The most important paragraph.
Yes, because the game design. Just for an example, I look. So this is Blades in the Dark.
Sure.
Blades in the Dark. Mm-hmm. It is the Italian edition. I usually play in English edition. Okay. This is in Italian. I don't know why. So I give you a translation, a translation from Italian.
Sure.
Blades in the Dark. It's a game to live the stories of a group of thieves that is building a criminal firm in the streets of an industrial fantasy city. These 3 lines.
We know what's going on.
Settled the mood of the game.
Yes. We know that we're not in the rural area, we're in an industrial area, right? We know that we're criminals.
We know we are thieves. We know we are criminals.
And we know that we're building an organization.
Yes.
So it's yes. So yeah, that gives a lot of information in 3 lines.
And so when what is a role play? Role playing, in my opinion, all what I've said is my opinion. Role playing isn't acting, isn't performing. Role playing is playing well the role at your game. So if we are playing criminals, I'll act like a criminal. But I'll play like a criminal.
Yeah.
I will not act like Marlon Brando in The Godfather, okay? But I will be a criminal and nothing else. A criminal that wants to build a criminal organization, not just a criminal, which is very different.
Sure.
Okay. I will not go rob alone, or I will play with my comrades to build that criminal organization. I can't play, I can't act alone. I must play with them.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that Adventure League does right, is that all of the rewards in a D&D Adventure League adventure are shared at the end. They're not shared. Everybody gets the same thing at the end, right? And what that does is that promotes, that eliminates the rivalry that can happen in groups where you try to backstab or somebody tries to pickpocket another player.
Yes.
You don't have any of that. So this teaches the basic idea of the group. You know, the group goal is paramount. Now you can have all those fun little adventures in your homebrew. They're a blast. But I think it's important for new players to realize that, you know, this is a goal-oriented objective, and each of you has a part to play in it, and an important part to play in it. And I think that's emphasized by that. Yeah.
Usually I say at the beginning to newbie players, it's a cooperative game.
Cooperative. That's right. It's cooperative. For me, it's a cooperative storytelling game, and you get to decide which way this story goes.
Yes.
You know, within certain parameters. I love the sandbox, but there's a limit to the sandbox. I can only prepare so much, you know. But as my depth as a DM and my experience becomes better, then I have a bigger and bigger sandbox, because I can say, well, I can pull this in from this adventure that I ran 3 weeks ago, and, you know, and throw that at them and see how they handle that. So it's, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Marco, I've had a wonderful time with you. We went far further than I thought we were going to, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. Absolutely wonderful.
Whenever you want, Pat. It's
fantastic.
Very, very nice to speak with you.
Oh, thank you. And my Italian, I'm learning Italian, so maybe I can practice that with you a little bit. I can say things like "Noi siamo gli uomini." I can say things like that now. But you know, io bevo l'acqua. But I'll get better, and maybe I'll get some dungeon-like terms in there as well.
I think you have a good pronunciation. Surely better than mine in English. Okay.
I don't know about that, but your English is impeccable. And your knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons is obviously extensive, and you're a prolific writer, and we want to reward that by putting all of the links that people can obtain your stuff with. And I, for one, am definitely going to take a look at your Patreon page. I'm amazed that you've set such a high bar for yourself, giving people original content once a week and additional content once a month. That's far more ambitious than I would be.
For the base level.
Yeah.
For the base level, this is what I promise for my patrons at the base level.
Wow, that's really a value.
There are 4 levels. Go and see. There are 4 levels.
Oh yeah.
This is the base level, the entry level.
Fantastic. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to say before we go?
I want to thank you, and I hope to meet you again very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank everybody for watching, and buona notte and happy adventures out there. Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. 2, 1. All right. I'm here with Ryan Doyle from the Verdigree table.
Hey,
how are you today, Ryan?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, man. I was really happy we got to do this.
Great. Yeah, me too. My name's Pittsburgh Pat. So for my audience, you guys know me. I talk about positivity. I talk about creativity on this channel, really into D&D right now. And just for a little bit of background, Ryan, tell the people what you do on YouTube.
So yeah, I have a small but mighty YouTube channel where I hope folks get into Dungeons and Dragons. A lot of the focus has been on like beginning Dungeon Masters, because it is an awesome hobby, but it can be pretty intimidated to get started. And a lot of onus falls on the Dungeon Master, and there's a lot of people who can't find a Dungeon Master, so they have to be the Dungeon Master. So I tried to make that as easy and welcoming as possible for folks. And lately we've been getting into like a little more like advanced DMing topics, branching out into like different games and stuff, but I try to keep it the gates as wide open as possible, you know.
What I like about your channel, and I've been watching your channel a lot lately because it dovetails well with what I'm doing now, which is teaching 9 to 11-year-olds how to play D&D, and getting paid for it. But yeah, I know,
talk about
right?
that after. How do I get some of that?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, it's amazing. Actually, I fell into it, but yeah, so I've been using your videos as kind of like, you know, you have these wonderful prep guides So you're like, okay, here's Ice Spire Peak. Here's how you prep for the windmill adventure, and here's how you prep for like Nomengard, and and it's been extremely helpful, give me ideas. But what I really like about your channel is you focus on the role play, right? So you focus on like, okay, how do you get into character? What do you do with these NPCs? How do you make them distinctive? There's 10 of them. How do you make them different? And you're really good at that. And I'm a big performance guy. So like, that's where I come from, so like, yeah, so that's what I find fascinating about your channel. Cause there's a lot of people out here doing Dungeons and Dragons videos. So we have to kind of make ourselves distinctive, and that's what I think makes you distinctive. One of the things.
I set out to make, because it's a crowded field, right? And there's a lot of like high level conceptual stuff out there, and then like whatever, like the newsy stuff. I don't have the bandwidth to chase whatever Hasbro's doing today. But I started by making the videos that I wish I had found when I started myself, because I started in a vacuum, like I was too old or too young, like I missed the 80s wave. I didn't have like the cool older brother or the cousin or anybody. So like I, as an adult, came to D&D and like asked around, and everybody was interested, but no one had played before. So I'm an autodidact, right? I taught myself. So yeah, those like the Lost Mine of Fandelver and the Dragon of Ice-Spire Peak videos in particular are focused in on like the nuts and bolts. I'm not afraid to over explain, I think, because like I'm trying to come at from the beginner mindset, but bring in those like more advanced concepts. Like here's how to do this, here's what we can learn from it and apply it to the next adventure that maybe we're making up ourselves or whatever, buying a book off the shelf. And it's funny, I am very much both sides of the coin, like the strategic war gamer, like we like combat, we do very like complex, and I run a fairly like deadly game. I like the challenge aspect of that. I honestly, and I think if you're doing it right, that dovetails with role play, because if you're sweating, right, if your character's sweating, your character's in a life and death struggle, and if it feels like no big deal and you're just sitting there waiting for your turn to come around and you're on your phone, like that's not as an immersive experience.
That's right. And I think that's kind of the point, right? We're going to have emotions, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to have suspense, hopefully, and maybe a little bit of, just that tiny little tinge of fear that makes excitement happen. We're like, no, I like this character, don't kill it. And that kind of thing. So now with the kids, I'm taking a little bit of a different tack,
of course,
because I don't want to kill off their characters, but we have to present them with danger. But one of the things that I told the parents, and how I kind of sold this this lesson plan, was that through D&D, I can teach them all kinds of things.
It's incredible. Yeah, I have a buddy.
There's a money system. You can teach them finance.
I mean, yeah. How do you make math fun? I've seen a lot of attempts. I haven't seen many successful attempts, but like, yeah. I mean, it feels complex math when you're sweating because your character's going to die. But like, yeah, here's a bunch of shapes that we're gonna learn about platonic solids.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna learn about the perfect shapes, the perfect
and we're
solids.
gonna do math on the fly, real hard.
So you can talk about on it. Yeah, you can talk about ancient Greek philosophy if you want. It's and actually there is I think there's a book out now, or it's a third-party book that talks about the ancient Greek like monsters and gods and things, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, because you can pull in anything. You can run a very math-centric session and teach kids skills. You could like easily fold in like, you need to know your multiplication tables to open this door, right? Or to diffuse this trap. Like, but at the same time, like you can spend a session, not touching the dice at all, and it's all role play. And you want to talk about the soft skills, the social skills, consequences to your actions, how to treat people, right? You could like,
how to work
that
together.
this NPC isn't real, and then the cooperative aspect of it, between the working as a team to not die and the storytelling side of things as well.
Because with the boys, with the young boys, it seems like the first thing I want to do is kill each other's characters off. So like, there's this, they're taught games from a competitive zero-sum game point of view. You're playing Monopoly, you're playing Risk, whatever you're playing, checkers, and it's somebody wins, somebody loses. So this is a totally different concept for a lot of these kids, and it dovetail. It actually will serve them well later in life, because most situations in the workplace or otherwise are not necessarily zero sum. They're mostly like all the boats rise on a rising tide. So if we all do well, everybody wins, right?
That's fascinating. That's fascinating to me, because I really respond to that aspect. Like, there's not a lot of games out here that are collaborative, right? There are, I mean, a lot of people are coming, especially I'm sure the little, younger boys are coming from like the lens of video games.
Yes.
And like, even if you are on a team, you're against another team.
Yes.
And there's win conditions and you can lose, and D&D is so much more open-ended, and the more you cooperate with the people at the table and the, imaginary non-player characters, potentially the more assets and allies you have, the better off you are. And that is way closer to real life experience than, this like cutthroat,
like
zero
chess,
sum.
where it's like, aha, I got your king, although who knows, hostile takeovers and business might be like that.
I mean,
but
it exists.
Yeah, it's there, but it's not like your day-to-day. It shouldn't be. I hope your day-to-day workplace. And if it is, get out. I just recently, anyway, we'll talk about that another time. So I just wanted to shift gears for a little bit.
Sure.
I'm always interested in like YouTubers and like how they got to tubing. So like, tell me a little bit about like how you got on this platform, when you got on the platform, if you wish. And just like, tell me, like, how did you get to 1,000 subscribers? Everybody's wants that people I talk to about YouTube, because I do videos about that too. They all want to know how to get to that magic 1,000 subscribers. So how did that happen for you?
So I've been going for about 2 years. Conceptually, I've been thinking about it for more than 2 years. But the first video went up, I want to say November 2 years ago.
Cool.
So time on task and reps, right? I've left up my first videos mostly so that people can go see that hopefully I've improved, right? But as much as part of me wants to go like turn all that old crappier stuff private, I think it's good to see people's progression, because so often we compare, and I do it myself. 2 years into it, I'm comparing myself to people who've been doing it for 10 years, and you're comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle. And comparison is the thief of joy, and that doesn't help you. So focusing on what
comparison
you're doing
is the thief of joy.
Yeah, I stole that from somebody.
I'm stealing it now.
It's yours. Take it with my blessing. So yeah, I mean, I really focused in on you hear a lot, if you look at like how to succeed at YouTube, like niching down is talked about a lot, but I really think that's focusing on your audience, right? Like, I knew I wanted to talk about D&D, but like who's on the other side of this camera that I'm speaking to? Is it, the person that's been playing for 30 years and wants the nuts and bolts of like the day-to-day, or is it someone who's just coming into it? And you can focus in even more and more. And I've expanded. I feel like I'm trying to grow with my audience a little bit. Like I'm getting into a little more conceptual, sophisticated. Like, now you got the nuts and bolts down, you can start to, think about these things as well. But I think that's the most important thing for people starting out. One, realizing that, like, I mean, it can happen overnight, but it probably won't. Right. And two, remember who you're talking to. And the thing that helped me continue to do this for 2 years was that sense of community, was like hearing back from the people I'm talking to.
Cool. So you have like an active comment section where you have regulars that like talk about your videos, give you like good critique and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you get the good and the bad. It is the internet, but I have a pretty good, I haven't done a lot of moderation, right? I haven't had to get rid of much. But whatever. I'm a middle-aged white dude. I'm kind of bulletproof from a lot of that stuff. But the comments, and then I started a Discord, and I've made a few connections with folks on there, and it's just really cool. Even the one and done's like, hey, I am, always wanted to do this, never got a chance, you've helped me do it, tomorrow night, me and my kids are sitting down and we're going to play for the first time. And like, that's deeply gratifying, right?
Isn't that
And
yeah, it's so gratifying when you touch somebody that way, you know, and
yeah,
they let you know, you
yeah.
know, and that's what I'd say. If anybody's out there listening, like, let people know if they do something that helps you, you know, like, because a lot of times what happens is, and this is anywhere, but like say in customer service, you know, like when I get good customer service, I'm the guy that like says, hey, can I talk to your immediate supervisor after this call is done? So that I can like say that, because so many times it's only the negative, right? The only negative comments inspire, or only negative motivations inspire people to like make comments, but it's the positive ones. We need those as well, because we need to know what we're doing well. We do need to know where we could do better. There's no doubt.
Constructive criticism.
You don't have to be rude about it, but like, you know, you can say, look, your camera was shaking during the video, or you know, you talk with your hands too much, or the microphone was in the shot, you know, like this.
I've been waiting for somebody to tell
my
me
shot, you know.
I'm real handsy. I've been waiting for somebody to say something. What's up with this guy? But,
well, it's better than being static. I mean, you see people that look like deer in the headlights with their cameras, you know. So like
in those,
there's
those
that
early shots,
too.
I'm like holding my hands because I didn't want, because I'm from New York originally, so like I got that, it's in me and it wants to come out. So either I hold it back, or you can be yourself, right? That's the other thing.
That's the main thing. It's easier to be yourself, because if you're yourself, then you don't have to assume a persona, and I think that comes through. So like a lot of times on the video comments I'll get is people will say, thank you for cutting straight to the point and telling me how to do this, because it's the how-to videos that like get I get the most I make the most money on, and I get the most like comments on, because I solved somebody's problem, right? So
yeah, and if you like, so one of my like secrets to success, or success being a relative term, but on YouTube, if you're starting, Google owns YouTube. And if you're trying to be successful at YouTube, you're trying to get like started on YouTube, search and this is the way people are going to find you. No one's, I mean, people do it now, but no one was typing in verdigris table. No one was typing in Ryan Doyle. People were typing in how to run Dungeons and Dragons. And that's the pipeline. So, and again, that is exactly that. Know who are you talking to? Who is your audience, right? What are they looking for? Is how the algorithm's going to serve up your content to people at first, and then give them the answer so that they come back, right? There's a lot of negativity and clickbaity and bait and switchy stuff out there, and honestly some of those people do really well, right? But I mean, it's really nice to be monetized. It's not a ton of money to be, you know,
let's be honest with everybody right now that like, in order to make this your full-time job, it's really like a lottery. Like, you know, I do this and it's on my, you know, like, but I have to do other things in order to like pay the bills. Let's put it that way. I'd love to be able to just do this, but then also I think I would be beholden to, so here's the other thing. Like a lot of people make their money off of Patreon, right? I don't have a Patreon. I don't know anything about Patreon. I'd love to interview people about that and find out what that's all about.
Yeah, I have a Patreon. We can talk about that for sure.
So yeah. So when you're on a Patreon, do you feel like, you know, okay, I'm going to make this video for the Patreon people, and I'm going to make this video for the public, and then like, how do you get people to like? First of all, how do you attract Patreon? How do you attract patrons?
You start it and you talk about it, right? And like my Patreon is not huge, and I've actually paused it for the Kickstarter right now. So if you click on my stuff, you can see my Patreon, but you can't. Well, actually, in a few days it'll be back open. I have different tiers of support, right? Like there's a $2 baseline, and that's basically like, I like what you're doing, I want to support you. Here's a attaboy.
Here's a tip.
Here's a tip, basically. And I was going to make it $1, but by the time Patreon takes everything out, it's like Patreon tells you not to charge $1, because by the time they're done with you, you're seeing a dime. So it's $2.
That's good. That's the way Amazon direct publishing is, and I've published a couple books, and then and stuff like that. They tell you like, because I'd rather just give away my stuff for free, and they're like, no, we got to make
Mhm.
some money off of this. So they charge, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they charge.
They
So.
give you recommendations, and I mean, full disclosure, I would love to have this be a sustainable career, you know. So Patreon helps with that. I justify to myself, at least, my page. So people want to support you too. I got advice from some like bigger YouTubers. It was like, when do I start doing Patreon? Like, what's your, like, yesterday, right? The sooner you open it, the faster it's growing. There's no reason to wait. Nobody cares that your patron community is only a dozen people instead of 100 people. That actually means you have the bandwidth to deal with those 12 people. It feels like a community.
Yeah.
I think it's good if you're on the escalator trying to grow your whatever creative endeavor you're doing. Bigger is better, yada yada yada. But you know, there's a lot of benefits to being small. Like you can have personal connections with
Yeah,
12
you can
people much
pivot
easier
too.
than 1200. And you can,
Yeah.
and you can try different things. So I put stuff on my Patreon that can help people as well. So I don't make videos for the Patreon. I'll do early access when I'm on top of my game, right? When I have stuff in the pipeline, patrons see it first. But I was doing an adventure or a table. I'm a big tables guy. I was doing like DM tools. So if you're on the $5 tier or the $10 tier, you get a little PDF or something.
Oh, okay. So you'll make like a when we talk about tables, just for the audience's sake, we're talking about, okay, like where is this adventure going to take place? Roll a percentile roll.
Yes.
Okay, so roll two
Yes.
D10. So like on a 99, where this takes place in a haunted house. On an 87, it takes place in a graveyard. I'm using Halloween examples because it's all around me.
It's spooky season.
Yeah, spooky season. On 66, it takes place at a seance. So you invent those I love writing those tables. So like that's great. I could do that.
I love
That's
making
cool.
them, and I love having them at the table, because that,
Yeah.
like, now this is a little more advanced, but once you're like settled in and comfortable running D&D, I like letting the dice dictate some of the elements on my side of the thing, right? The dice are telling the player success, failure, right?
Yes.
To a large degree. But I like random encounters. Random encounters, this is a little more D&D inside baseball, but random encounters are controversial, I think, because a lot of random encounters are boring and have nothing to do with anything. So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of I built a campaign around them, essentially. And then that's a lot of what, like, I have stuff on DM's Guild. A lot of that stuff ended up, versions of it are on my Patreon. I like random encounters where you meet someone on the road, they have stuff to sell, we negotiate. You can't afford all of their stuff, but if you go do this for them, then they can do it. And all of a sudden now I'm running this adventure instead of this adventure. And I'm delighted and surprised. And the world that I've like carefully crafted is alive and doing things.
Yes.
And I'm experiencing it as a game as much as
It's
the
like
players are,
when
even
you're
more so sometimes.
Yeah, you're trying to find Carla the trader in Fallout 4, and she's not at this settlement because that's where you saw her the first time. But now she's at this settlement because she's a trader and she's moving around. And that's great. It's like, but wait a minute, you had a mini nuke the last time, and now you don't. And I need capital. So like you end up selling your armor to get the mini nuke. Yeah,
and it makes the world feel more alive. Things are happening whether you're interacting with it or not. It's not just like on pause until you interact with the game.
And the kids love to buy stuff. They love going shopping. That's one of the things they love. And I think other players do too. That aspect of like, I can improve my character, not just through experience and leveling up, but actually by getting better equipment. And then the GP means something, because if you just if you're, well, I'm a generous DM and you just give them like, armor, or you just give them gold pieces and you give them too much, it breaks the system. So like there's nothing is of any value if you have too much money, right?
And that happens so fast, because you're like, I'll give you 10 gold to go, clear out those goblins, and then like 3 weeks later, it's like, well, I have 3,000 gold and nothing to spend it on, so like that gold doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
Right. And that's when you introduce the gray ooze or the rust monster that just like eats all their gold. So or the wonderful like NPC that joins the party and then turns out to be a pickpocket and leaves in the night with
every time. It's a were rat, and don't get bit.
Those are good. Yeah, especially around the holidays. There's a, I don't know if you do Adventure League. So I DM for Adventure League, and there are certain rewards for the DMs if you put in so many hours of service. And there's they give out like a little PDF about that, and they have these monsters for Liar's Night, which is basically it's the Halloween holiday of Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. Liar's Night. So people dress up like other people and cause illusions to look like other people. And there's there's this really neat, I'll do a whole video about it, but there's this it's really neat. Somebody really sat here and thought about this. Like they thought, okay, what about trick or treat? They're like, well, people put little sacks of like candy on their belts with the intention that little kids are going to try to pickpocket them. And, and that's expected, and it's cute and it's cool and like that kind of thing. And so it's like rogue training, like,
yeah, I've mined Adventures League adventures for ideas and adventures whole cloth. I've never actually participated in actual play in not actual play, organized play. So yeah, maybe I'll come hang out one day.
Yeah, please. We do it every other Thursday, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll give you the information about that. But yeah, I think I'm doing back to YouTube. I think I'm doing YouTube all wrong, because my YouTube channel is kind of a blog. It's kind of like whatever I'm up to. So like, I passed 1,000 subscribers. If I may be honest, it was a Candy Crush video. I was playing Candy Crush and put my levels on there, and I was doing that because my niece was playing and we were comparing them and that sort of thing. And then one challenge was really hard and people were trying to figure it out. So they started watching this one video and it blew up. And so that's where I got past 1,000, but that's not where I make my money. Nobody watches those videos anymore because they're either past that level or they've changed the level or whatever. But like, so you on my channel, you might watch a video about Star Wars. I might give my review of Ahsoka. You might have my friend and I just read a book and we'll talk about George Orwell, or you might find me like in the park feeding squirrels. So like, I know I'm doing it wrong, but I need to like, I have several different channels. So like I have the channel that's the catch-all channel. And then I have all these other specialized channels. And if any of those take off, then I'll be doing YouTube right. Which is like pick a topic, make a channel, right?
That's also what are you doing it for? What do you like? What's your reason behind it, right? Like there's a rubric, like success on YouTube is like very numbers driven, but like if you're in it for the money, buckle up because it's going to be a long ride.
Right. Exactly.
If you're in it to make cool videos and just like express yourself, then like who cares? Do your thing. You don't need to worry about titles and thumbnails and niching down and all that stuff. That's pretty much what I'm doing, I guess. I would come from a writing background, so it's more about me getting ideas out there and talking about creative ideas and just putting them out there. Because do you know how long it takes to write a book? Yeah, I've attempted to several times. Well, you can do it in a month. I don't know if you know about National Novel Writing Month that's coming up.
No, but that would be a heck of a challenge. I know Stephen Crane wrote The Red Badge of Courage apparently in 10 days, but short book and
it's like Kerouac style, like on the road in like whatever 4 days. But I think he had some help.
You could do it. I mean, I wrote the rough draft of mine in 9 days. But it was
that's the idea,
right?
So National Novel
Writing, you have to
Month
put it all together. Right?
Exactly. It's 50,000 words in 30 days so that you can turn off the inner critic, right? It's just get it out, get a crappy first draft down.
But that's what I tell people. Okay. So when we talk about creativity and positivity, what I tell people all the time is that, so there's the inner critic, there's the outer critic. So being a writer, you have to criticize your language, other people's language, ideas. You do that. It's just critical thinking, right? But you don't have to be mean about it. But what happens is like, for so many years, I graduated with my degree in writing, and I'm looking at the bestsellers, in the airport or on the bookshelf, and I'm going like, I can write better than that. That's terrible. That's
Mhm.
junk. Blah 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 blah. I'm
Mhm.
comparing, right? But the point is, they did it,
Right.
right? They did it. So like Stephen King sits down, whether you like him or not, and he just types,
Mm.
and he does it, right? So
And it
at
shows.
some level, like you can't compare yourself to them because they've done it. So just do it. And that's the big thing with writers. There was a writer who's now since passed away, but he had great advice. He said, write your story before it's too late. You know,
Yeah, I mean, that's true for everything, right? Yeah.
YouTube gives me that platform. So
Mhm.
like I can just sit down and turn on my camera and just say, you know, today I was talking to a friend about positivity and he had this to say about it. And we were talking about the ancient Greeks and then they just blah, 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 blah. And if anybody wants to watch it, great. If they don't, that's fine too.
Mhm.
I got it out of my head, you know?
Right. Because maybe you're like, who's this for? Right. The answer can be you. 100%. You know, it can be, you know, you can write a novel for commercial consumption, right? And you have different concerns than like writing a journal, essentially, right? And I think if you're going to write or produce YouTube videos or whatever it is, if you're going to produce something for outward, done is better than perfect. You can't make
Yes.
your conceptual thing, you can't make it better. You have to have it in front of you first, and then you get to improve it. And
Yeah.
so many people are out there because if you want to write, you've read 1,000 good books first, and now you're comparing somebody else's middle to your beginning.
That's right.
And you're like, I can do better than that, and then
That's
you
right.
write for an hour, and you're like, well, this is actually worse. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you didn't put in your 1,000 hours, and you didn't make this
10,000.
10,000 hours,
Remember
and you
that
got to
book?
make this better. Oh, sure.
I was like learning how to shoot pool when that book came out, and it was
Yeah.
like 10,000 hours. I'm like, oh my God, forget that, you know?
Yeah,
But
that's why I stopped playing poker.
but while we were, well, that's good. That's good.
Oh.
Dunning-Kruger will kill you at poker. So, you know, you'll lose a lot of money in the meantime.
That's what I was counting on most of the time.
Yeah, it was crazy. So yeah, well, you can exploit it from other people being
Yeah.
seduced by it. But yeah, it's you know, that's what my one friend said. He was teaching me how to make bank shots. So we're making bank shots. I miss. I make one. I'm like, yay! Now teach me how to make one in the corner. He's like, no. I'm like, why? He's like, do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed. And he's like, okay,
Right.
here's the point. Do it until you can't miss. He said, amateurs do something until they get it right. Professionals do it until they can't get it wrong. And there's a big difference between those two things,
Oh
right?
God, yes.
But
Yeah,
I know
it's
I
a
like what
big
you said
plateau.
about perfection, though, because I think that's an assassin. That takes creative ideas and just like, you're not good enough. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to write like Hemingway. You're never going to write like Fitzgerald. It's of course not, because you're not them. You're going to write like you. You're going to write like Ryan Doyle, damn it. And that's the way it's going to be, you know? I just broke my rule and I swore. But like, it's, you know, for emphasis.
Oh, it's
but
open season now.
Yeah, now you can say anything. But
yeah. In
so
the D&D
how'd you
world,
get
have
over that? How'd you get over that with YouTube? That's what I want to say. Like, what pushed you over the precipice? And you're like, I'm going to make my first video.
Well, it's interesting. I learned that lesson the hard way through, you know, decades of experimenting with writing and all sorts of things, career choices and relationship choices. Like, I have a perfectionist streak in me, and I used to think that meant perfectionism was when you work on a thing and never finish it because it's got to be perfect. And that's maybe a variety of it, but that's not the kind I had. I had perfectionism. It's got to be perfect or I'm not going to do it. So like the first time I do it, I'm not good enough. So it's not going to be perfect. So I'm not going to try. So
Gotcha.
I learned that about myself. I did the reps to like get better at that. And then part of doing the YouTube was here's like a lot of unknown unknowns. I didn't even know all the skill sets that come into it before I started. Here's something that's not in my wheelhouse. That's 100% like it does feel like you're putting yourself out there very hard, talking about a topic that I'm passionate about. I'm trying to help people, right? Which got me through the rocky stuff in the beginning. But I did it to subject myself to that, you know, like to see, like, that's why those first videos are up still, because they're not going to be perfect. Like the first, and I talk about that in the instructional D&D side of things too. Like the first time you do something is probably going to be among the worst times you do it. And that sounds terrible and scary and like a reason you shouldn't do it. But the flip side of that coin is that every time you do it, you're getting better. The next
That's
time
right.
will be better. The next time will be better. So if you want to get good, you got to be willing to be bad at it first. And that's true for everything.
Do you do your own video editing?
I do. This is a one-man operation. I would love to sub that out. I would love to sub out some other aspects of it too. But yeah, I write a script and then I record the video. I edit it. I build a thumbnail and a title and optimize and all that crap. It's a one-man band over here.
So
Yeah.
the same here. And so I think that's the other thing that I'd like to, I don't want to discourage anybody from trying this, but if you're going to try YouTube, be aware that the benefit is that you're going to gain all these skills because you have to.
Yeah.
So like now I almost feel like I could walk into like a video production like office and be like, look, I have some basics. Put me where you need me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm employable. I'm not saying that like, I know Premiere Pro inside and out. I use third-party free stuff. You know what I mean?
What do you use over there?
Well, so my wife did buy me a Mac, so now I can use iMovie, but I usually just use it on my phone. But like for this stuff, I'll use open, what's it called? It's an open source one called, I can minimize the screen and find out. Hang on one sec. I don't even remember. Oh, I can't do it while I'm recording.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'll tell you later.
I've
But
been
anyway,
using if we're talking like inside YouTube stuff,
Yeah.
DaVinci Resolve is an incredibly powerful editing software. It's up there with the big boys, and the whole reason it's free is because DaVinci, the company, wants to sell you, 5-6 figure equipment to use with their software, so they give you the software for free. So if you're trying to get started, it's a learning curve for sure, right? So like, yeah, maybe start with iMovie. You can edit you can do everything on your phone. Like, you don't need sophisticated equipment.
No, I find iMovies much easier on the phone than it is on the
Yeah.
computer, to tell you the
And
truth.
if you are getting started, especially if you're trying to like, monetize, you're trying to make a business out of this, keep your overhead to zero. You don't need to buy anything. If you have a phone, you can make YouTube videos. And then that's basically what I did. I have slowly let the business of the Vertigo Table pay for the lights and the mic and like improvements.
Yes, make that happen as a business expense.
Yeah, if you're trying to do it that way, because if you're gonna sink $3,000 to do a thing and it still looks bad because you don't know, you can get a beautiful camera and you don't know how to use it.
That's right.
It's not gonna help you. So stick with the tools that you have.
That's right. If you're not a singer, the best microphone is just going to make you sound worse.
Exactly.
It's going to pick up the defects. I think, keep going. I was going to say something. I forgot.
No, go. Okay.
It was DaVinci Resolve, and then we were talking about the equipment. Oh, yes. Well, here's the other benefit of being monetized. And this is just from I do sometimes financial videos as well. So, but like once you're monetized, you have income. Now you can legitimately claim expenses against that income so that you're not taxed on it. So if you do buy buy a Blue Yeti for $100, then like you take that off of whatever money you made, and for a brief period of time, the IRS does allow you to take a loss. So if you have, say, you have a regular job where you make a certain amount of income, your YouTube stuff, you can take a loss on that. You can even take it against the total income of your household because you're just a sole proprietor, right? You just lump it all in, and then you have an accountant do this, so it's done legally, of course. And then, or you can use software. I just let somebody else do it, and then you can say like, look, I have this great equipment that I would have bought anyway, but now it's a tax write-off. So like it works out pretty well.
That's a much better place to, if you're starting out watching this, that's a much better goal to have, especially if you're talking about making educational videos about a hobby that you really enjoy. All of a sudden, when you buy the thing you were going to buy anyway, now the Vertigo Table gets to buy, the new book, the shiny,
and they're like $50 each.
And they're not getting cheaper.
They're beautiful,
Yeah,
but they're expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, great artwork and stuff. So,
Mhm.
so we should tell everybody how we met. So,
Oh
we
yeah,
met we met at PGX, which
we
was
met
the
at
Pittsburgh
PGX.
Gaming Expo. Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, Pat was part of a panel. I talked to him and he gave me his card.
I gave him
It's
a
too,
business
yeah,
card.
it's too bright. There you go. I got Pat's card, which I was like, I like this guy. And
It
yeah,
was,
you guys are doing a very interesting I mean, we were talking about like YouTube and streaming D&D games and stuff, but like I was mostly fascinated by like you guys are talking about like doing adapting Shakespeare and like a very like
yeah,
literary. So I'm an English major, so that like really, you
awesome.
know, I have a
Well,
piece of paper that says I'm good at that stuff.
if you want to join us,
Mhm.
we're going to do this again in November, starting in November. So I'm pretty sure we're going to do Shakespeare next, and I want to do Macbeth because
Mm.
it's just Macbeth
It's
is D&D for
it's
crying out
violent,
loud.
baby. Yeah,
It's
yeah. Political
gothic
intrigue
horror. There's
and
political stuff. There's witchcraft.
mhm,
There's
mhm.
betrayal. There's
Yeah,
overarching ambition.
you got a
There's all
coven
kinds of
of
stuff.
hags to start it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. We
I
got the
began.
witchcraft right in there.
I need to practice. I'm a little rusty on my Shakespeare, but like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm
Oh,
game.
well, okay. So I don't see us occasionally. We may give lip service to some of the more highlighted one-liners, but I
Mhm.
don't see us speaking in that,
You're not in a iambic
he,
pentameter, and
he thinks that, the lady doth protest too much. But
I'll drop a ye every once in a while. Will be good.
yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. But I mean, that would be hard. But yeah, but we may get into some costumes and things like that. I think it could be fun. I think that could be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
plus, another opportunity for an educational experience. So
Mhm.
maybe kids that are like, oh, we got to read this in high school. Maybe they like watch the D&D one and go like, oh, well, guess this could be fun. Or they
Yeah.
learn one or two aspects about one of the characters, and that causes them to want to read it.
Mhm.
Because, Shakespeare's juicy, man. There's some good
Dude,
stuff
you
in
want to
there.
learn your big bad evil guy is boring? Like, go read Othello, right? Like,
Yeah, man. Iago's the best.
Iago is one of the best characters of all time. You need some
Probably
like
the
weird
best villain
inspiration.
ever.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like I don't know if he gets credit for being the first, but like a villain stealing the show, being like I mean, he's maybe the first three-dimensional character in literature, right? He's so
Yeah, right.
intriguing.
Yeah. And he makes everybody else do all his dirty work.
Oh, and it's yeah,
And
he's the evil
he uses
genius.
props, right?
Mhm.
So like he uses like the handkerchief, and just by
Mhm.
placing a handkerchief in the wrong spot, and you know what I mean, drives Othello crazy. And it's
Yep,
just
yep.
that kind of subtlety, that kind of that's like, that's the rogue, the bard, like the
Mhm.
evil bard. There's
Charisma
like
class for sure.
yes,
Yeah,
learn how to
yeah.
use your charisma stat, it's a lot
And
of
if
fun.
you have a table of players who are unfamiliar with anything really, but Shakespeare in this case, like steal it, run it. They'll think you're a
Yeah.
genius. You'll get credit for it.
Well, that's why I argue it. We started with like the Wizard of Oz, because I
Yeah.
figured pretty much everybody knows the Wizard of
Mhm.
Oz. If you don't know the Wizard of Oz, you're 5 years old and you didn't go to Thanksgiving. I don't know, but like, I mean, it was on. If you're not exposed to it, there's certain things that, like, even in our culture of streaming where everybody gets their own niche and they see things on their own time, there's
Mhm.
still like certain classics that are
Mhm.
just there. And so that's why I started with that. And plus, that's a wonderful fantasy with some great characters that are fun to play. Like, who
Mhm.
wouldn't want to play the Scarecrow? Like, just fun stuff.
And especially as like introductory role play, but even like advanced role play, I guess, like stepping into a character that is like known is way easier. It frees you up to you're making fewer decisions at the baseline. You know this character already. So it's like, what would this character be doing in this situation is way easier to answer because you have a lot more to draw from. And then things happen at the table and now you're not going to follow the plot of the movie perfectly. You're going to adapt and be the Scarecrow or the Tin Man or whatever, but you have much bigger baseline to start. Like I think a lot of people, probably in YouTube too, but in D&D, you're trying to reinvent the wheel. You're afraid of like borrowing tropes from other places. You want to be like incredibly original, and you can lose people very quickly that way. Like there's the common language of some cultural touchstone or just like, cliches and tropes, like we can recognize them, and then you put your spin on them, right? Like do it your way well, opposed to doing something completely different that no one has ever heard of. That might be a reason no one's done that yet.
Absolutely. And the other advantage to having the established character is that when you do break character, it's funny. So but it's not funny until you know what the character is. So if you do something, that's why when you tell a joke, you do it 3 times. You do once to like introduce it, 2 to establish it, and then 3 to break it, right? And that's where the humor comes from. So when the Scarecrow does something unscarecrow-like, then it's funny because we don't expect that, right?
Interesting. I haven't thought about that side of it, but yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm going after humor.
Because there's expectations. Oh, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
I'm going after laughs. I want everybody to have a good time, and I want people watching it to have a good time. That's the point of this particular set of reenactments and through D&D. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking D&D and I'm taking an established intellectual property and running it as if it were D&D. That's basically a one shot. That's basically what that idea was. So we did it with the Princess Bride. We did it with
Sorry to miss that one. I'm gonna go watch that because that's
another great one. Yeah. Well, favorite. That we could do that again. We did it, but it's the players are getting warmed up. So we need some more players because there's a lot of characters in that. But what they did with it was amazing. I thought.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm happy. I would love to play in your game, but like, you need a guest star NPC or something to like roll in for 5-10 minutes. Like, I love doing stuff like that too.
Yeah, just surprise the heck out of the characters. Like, not unannounced would be funny. And like, okay, you come in at 12:15,
right?
And they're like, wait, somebody else is joining the group.
Yeah, mystery guest. Who's behind the curtain, right? Wizard of Oz style. But like, even outside of like streaming and entertainment side of things, like if you're running a D&D game and you have that buddy who can't make it till game night starts at 6 and they're at work till 9:15 or whatever, like there are ways to incorporate more players. I've had a lot of guest star NPCs and like it hits much different because you can kind of collaborate. You're halfway on the dungeon master side, so you can kind of like set some plot points up for people and then run away into the wings and then see what happens a couple weeks later. The
other nice thing is that you talk about is recurring characters. You were talking about this in some of your Dragon of Icespire Peak videos where you had a character that was an NPC and then you like said, well, we'll just like set this up so that 4 episodes later, boom, they show up. And I had a student who was talking about this. He drew his own dungeon map. They love drawing dungeon maps on graph paper. So, and he ran the dungeon. So as he was running the dungeon, he said there was a chest and it had a gold coin, a dagger, and a spider. And I said, a spider. I said, well, what's the spider's name? And he was like, Jimmy. And I'm like, okay. So then Jimmy, the spider, started showing up at other places throughout the dungeon. So like that became a thing. And now I taught him over the summer. Now I'm teaching him in the fall again. Now Jimmy the spider has to be somewhere in his dungeon. And so, you know what I mean? So like, it's become like a favorite, Yeah. And at one point, I guess in his boss battle, we walk into the room and there's a flame, there's a dragon and there's fire and there's lava. And there's a roasted upside down spider on the table. Jimmy. Yeah. And then we're like, no, Jimmy, for Jimmy, and it's this rallying cry. So like the kids really get into those little details. And I think adults do too, because our brains like to get back to that familiarity. We like that. That's reassuring. So when we we're introduced something. So when you're writing a story, don't forget, loop back to like, familiar elements because it really engages people.
Yeah, I mean, and that's who is this for? Knowing your audience. There's a lot of writerly types get into dungeon mastering because it's a similar skill set, but there's a huge difference, and it's a trap that a lot of people fall into initially. Of you're not writing a story to tell your players. You were creating a story together at the table. So someone's going to ask you a question. What's the spider's name? Something you've never thought of before. You're going to come up with it in the moment, and it's going to become pivotal, and to panic because that wasn't part of the plan. That like it's not just yours, and like letting go of that control a little bit, and like sharing and communicating, like all these soft skills, if we're talking about like, the educational value to adults too. I mean, it's not just 11-year-olds who could work on those skills.
That's exactly right. Let's let it go of control.
Yeah,
that's awesome. No,
Yeah.
it's, and that's the other thing. When somebody asks me, they're like, you're doing what? You're teaching D&D? What's D&D? And I'm like, oh, it's basically cooperative storytelling.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, we're making up a story at the table. And that's a great way to put it, because that way the onus is off of the DM. You don't have to control everything. And it's more fun for the DM.
That's the other thing.
Because I don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. It should be a game. It feels like a game for you if you're doing it right too. And
it's exciting.
I've talked to a lot of because I get a lot of people who are like thinking about being a dungeon master, watching the videos, who like haven't taken that leap yet. And I made an early video that I think I'm going to make again now that I'm like can make a cleaner version of it, basically. But I got a comment very early on in my YouTube career, like in the first like month or two. Someone's like, I would love to do this, but I need to know perfectionism. I need to know that I would give my friends like this incredible experience before I could ever start to do that. And it's one, you don't have to put all of that pressure on yourself, right? If you're doing it, your audience. Every campaign that I've run has been very different, because I'm responding to what the people at the table are doing. And like night by night, this guy had a tough day at work and just wants to kill goblins and eat pretzels. Cool, like we can do that. So yeah, it's different every time, and it's not just one person's responsibility or power trip.
That was the other thing about doing the Adventure League, is that I started to feel like it was becoming a task, because I thought, well, every time I run this, I have to read all these new modules that I've never read before. I have to know this universe. So I'm doing like Curse of Strahd universe. I got to like know that. I got to know Barovia. If I'm doing Eberron, I got to know the steampunk universe. You can run the same module over and over and over again. You can have different players. It's going to be different.
It's the best. The best. I mean, it took me a while to repeat anything, but it was Lost Mine of Andor, where I started to and Dragon of Iceberg piece, actually. I started to like break up for parts and like reuse pieces. And then like, even especially if it's like your own thing, to run it again and see different people push different buttons, poke different things, kick over different rocks.
They found the door. They found the secret door. Finally, somebody found the secret door. Yeah,
exactly. Right? And I mean, talk about reps. Talk about like going from oh, it hit, to like, oh, I can't miss. Like running a thing where you can't miss, because I've run this 3 times now. Like I know this. I could draw this map without referencing anything. I know what's in every room. I don't have to read any descriptions. I've already made them up 4 times better than what the box text says. That's peak performance. Now that clears you out to like do all the interesting like narrative stuff and actively listen and like figure out what the players want and like put it in front of them. That's when it gets real good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of rerunning content.
That's another point that you brought up that I wanted to make, was the box text. Some of these adventures, some of these modules that I read, again, being hypercritical from the writer's point of view, my fault, my flaw, but like reading it and going like, I can do better than this. That's kind of the point. That's what those writers are doing, is giving you a starting point. And a lot of times they're purposely leaving it sparse so that you can, it's a skeleton and you put the flesh on it. You fill in the details so that it's not like, no, you must have your characters reach Icespire Peak by 12:15 when the eclipse happens. Otherwise, and which is perfectly fine too. But like, I mean, that was the Hobbit, right? They had to reach the door when the sun reached a certain point.
No, the moon's on the map, and like exactly, they had to be there on the
moon runes. So they could read it. Yeah, but like, that's that kind of inflexibility leads to trouble because now you're going to railroad, so
Yeah, that's a very
we got to
interesting.
get her now.
Exactly. I mean, that can be good at times in a smaller scale or maybe a bigger scale. Like sometimes you need to create tension. I think a lot of the dungeon master's job, what we were talking about before about like recurring characters and like callbacks and that sort of, and the humor too, is like getting people engaged and getting people to care. And again, that's not 1,000% on the dungeon master, right? Like the player has to bring their buy-in to the table or else it's not working. But if your character has relationships with the people in this town, then they're more invested in saving the town from the dragon that's threatening it.
Right.
Versus
That's
like,
right.
I don't know these people. I know this one guy and he's terrible.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, why am I going to risk my life fighting this dragon right now for 20 gold? Like I got 1,000 gold. I don't know what to spend it on. Whereas like, I gotta save Jimmy. Like
Yes. Kids
motivation.
and animals.
Kids and animals. Yeah,
Kids
yeah.
and animals. Always don't forget to give them the kids and the animals.
And
have
a
the
weird
kid run up to
dude.
them after the first adventure and like hug them around the knees or something and be like, "Oh, it's so good to see you again. I didn't think you were
make
gonna
them feel
make
like
it."
a hero.
Blah, blah, blah.
Make them feel like a hero.
Exactly, right. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I don't want that town to burn."
Yeah, we gotta rescue Jimmy. And they're gonna attach to the spider in the treasure chest, or they're gonna adopt a goblin, right? And like,
Yeah, or a
and you-
Nothic. I had a group adopt a Nothic.
Same. I was like, do you know what this thing? You don't know what this thing is. But it looks like, I think it's because Mike Wazowski, I think is the it's like, it's a cute guy from Monsters
Inc. Yeah.
But yeah, I've had parties adopt the Nothic at the bottom in the Gresendar Manor.
It's cute. It reads my mind. It's like, that's not what I would want in a pet. This
is an evil wizard who drove themselves mad pursuing dark eldritch secrets. But okay, yeah, he's cute. Okay, cool. Cool. He's eating a dead body right now. Come on, guys. I was looking forward to fighting you with this thing. Okay.
Right. Steps out of the dark. Oh, look how cute. They start petting it. All right. Well, we've gone over an hour, which is great because we didn't run out of things to talk about.
Oh,
and yeah. And so I think we should probably do this again sometime.
Heck yeah. I would love that. Yeah. For sure, man.
All right, cool. Well, this has been Brian Doyle from the Verdigris table and Pittsburgh Pat. So like, share, subscribe, and check out all of Brian's videos. He's got some amazing content out there, and he's direct and to the point, and he answers his community, which that's a big deal. I answer every comment that's not rude. And some of those too. Sometimes.
I answer some of I'll answer the rude ones if it's approachable.
Yeah.
You can get into trouble talking to people on the internet. Like, I don't argue with people. It's like, I can see why you say that. This is what I was trying to say. And then I don't follow that rabbit hole far.
I usually say something like, could you be a little more specific about why you didn't like what I said? What was it that you were looking for? And then that can, and every once in a while, like every 10th one, I'll get informed about how to make the video better or how to make a new video. So I'll get an idea of something. And I think sometimes people are happy that you approached their concern, even if they proposed it in a somewhat emotional way. So.
And sometimes people need to be reminded on the internet that there's a human on the other side of the screen that you're talking to.
Yeah, you hurt our feelings sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm human. And
I was a bartender for 30 years, so
there you go. I worked.
I have a very thick skin.
Exactly, I'm a little bulletproof, but it does help to.
But I don't want to be abused either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for you younger YouTubers out there, I don't recommend chasing it because it feels terrible. Yeah. I'd never seek it out. But to if you put yourself out there, you may very well get some negative, like constructive criticism, yes, but also some just like negative feedback that has nothing to do with you. There's just people who spend all day yelling at people on the internet for no reason because they have their own problems going on. That helps you because our machines are built to, or there's no
they want comments. They can't tell if they're negative or positive comments.
It doesn't care. So like your haters
are actually helping you. Yeah.
And if you have a hater, then then that's how you know, that's one like milestone. That's how you know you've made it.
That's a good point. I actually have a channel that's about Fallout New Vegas, and there was a video that just blew up, and it was just people making fun of, I don't know if they were making fun of me or they were making fun of the character. They were just repeating what the character said, like Doc Mitchell says at the beginning, you know, and it was over and over and over. I got a ton of like watch time and subscribers from it. Almost was able to monetize that channel, but then it fell off. So I couldn't capitalize on it. But yeah, that's a really good point. And Q-tip is something I remember. Q-tip. Quit taking it personally, right?
Oh, it's not about you. It's not about
when
you.
somebody talks about things in a negative way, 99.9% of the time, you had nothing to do with it. They're in a bad mood. They didn't eat breakfast. Who knows? You know what I mean? So like, just, it's all cool, you know, but all right. Well, good.
Yeah, awesome,
We ended
awesome
on a
chat.
positive thought, and all right, we'll stop the video now. Take care, everyone. How do I stop the video?